So now, what I also found is an old video from me, and what Jakub told me, this is not the oldest one. There's one from 2008, but not with my talk. And I had no time, to watch the video because I found it actually today. But what I did is I took a look. I took a look at this what I hacked and tried to remember, the code. That's me. And the only change is, my logo is no more glowing right now. But I found the code as well. So what I would like to do is to start, with the code, because the title of my talk was Java future is now, but is not evenly distributed yet. So the question is, was I right? So would this code run right now? And what is the difference, in the clouds, Kubernetes, public, private clouds right now, and where the trend is going? So what I also would like to do is, because I was in Krakow several times since then, and what I was fascinated was by this guy here. It is like the Dragon and is fully operational, which surprised me. So it actually is able to spit fire, which is a great thing. So I'm really asking myself why no one in Krakow names the conference Dragon Conf. This would be what I will do, just Dragon Conf, cool name, right? So this is the Dragon, and what I also learned is the name is Smok. And so we will create a Smok microservice. It doesn't really actually matter, but why not? And I will have to do something operational, because during my next talk, it will be about front ends without any Java. I will try to access the Smok microservice from the front end. That's the plan. So I asked the organizers, can you shift, the sessions? I would like to start with the back end and then proceed with the front end. So it should be fun. Okay, so now, slides. So I promise you there will be no slides, almost no slides. But the idea is, how can we be hyper innovative and very productive with boring APIs? And this is what I did actually since 20 years. So I'm a developer even more. I'm a freelancer or consultant since 1997 and working with Java since 1995. And what I show you today, I did actually all the 25 years or even more. The same thing is, I try to find a standard or something which is more or less stable, stick on it, and and try to innovate around that, and not learn every other day another framework. So the funniest stuff is I still like Java, so there is no difference. And by the way, the difference in my slides, or I noticed is, they were more colorful, 12 years ago. Now are black and white because I'm too lazy with the slides. So what I do is, if you like, I write a blog from time to time, like a notepad actually, and I have some online workshops. And what you probably appreciate the most is that this is the Airhacks TV. What Airhacks TV is, the first Monday of the month, you don't have even to register. You can just come and ask questions. I will answer the questions. Why I'm doing this? Because I'm too lazy, I have no time to answer the questions via email. It just doesn't work. So what I would like to do is to start with this JDD 2012 code review. As I said, I didn't find the code from 2008, but and then talk what I would do different right now, and what is the difference between back then and now. Then I talk about cloud first approaches, then why Java is still very viable for backends, and it's getting actually more and more momentum. And then talk what's really important, observability and robustness a little bit. And I forgot that. Feel free to ask questions. So we have to deal with Jakub. There should be a live interactive talk. Jakub will interrupt me and just ask questions. So this is should be fun. Yeah. Okay. If you like online virtual workshops, they were supposed to be delivered at Airport Munich, but this time we do everything online, right? And this is some online courses you cannot, attend virtually. This is basically it. And this is my very last slide. So now I would like to close everything and then go to my terminal. So what you see here, this is workspace junk universe, and this is if you go here, this is the junks. Junks means plural past talks, and the junks means my current talk. And why junk? Because what I usually do, I delete that after the talk, or I move it to junks, and I don't like to delete my client work. So this is why I know junk is not a real project. And if I name it Dragon service, there could be something like that. So don't feel offended by junk. So universe. So and this is actually the origin code. If I show you, It is 2012, so it seems like the 2012 conference happened on October 26th. And now the first challenge is open that with Visual Studio Code, right? So I didn't use Visual Studio Code back then. What I used is Maven. And what surprised me is why was the Maven so complicated back then? And I found the answer in the first 5 minutes of the video, because I use NetBeans and this generated the whole thing. Is the good news right now I don't do it anymore. What I will do right now is, again, I will do something like setup. I have a small script, Jakarta EE projects, and let's call it Universe 20 for Universe 2020, right? I have no idea why I call it Universe. Probably they know the theme of the conference would be this is this was a problem. I have to do it outside. The theme of the conference was probably Java Universe or something like that. So do it again, set up Jakarta E project, and do it outside. So at the same level, and then go here, and I would like to show you the code. So the Maven is way simpler. What how it would like look today is I have a system tests, and what I also have is there are basically the plugins are back because of JUnit 5 and Java 11, but this is a little bit shorter than back then. And we have JUnit 5, Jupyter, and Node 3, and we are using Jakarta E8. So I will show you today even something different, more on Microprofile, but this would be the project, 7 years later. So what also would like to do is just to try to run it on Java 11. So why not? So let's do the first experiment. What I would like to do is to say, okay, I don't care about all the plugins, so remove them. Remove all the plugins. Then what I would like to do, have the properties, and the final name is going to be a universe. Just try that. Final name. And then let's keep the dependency. And by the way, the properties are twice, so I would delete that. So this is actually the how to port a project which is 7 years old. So I did just that. Let's see whether it's actually working. So let's see, Maven clean install. Oh, this is the old one, sorry. This is the old one. And Universe 2020, this is the new one. Maven clean install and see whether it is working. So it is not, it says invalid target release 14, probably I have still Java 11.11. Strange. Wait a second. What I did here. Oh, I changed the universe. Sorry, you see. 7 years ago, I was better. So this is what we have to build. Just from command line, okay, it built, which is remarkable. So it means we have the old 7 years old project universe with built on JDK 11 with the old Java E6. And what I did back then, take a look at the code, is also funny. So there was an asynchronous servlet with annotations. So that was all. So I did some asynchronous events already. A configurator. So there was no configuration right now. So I implemented the CDI injections back then by manually. Right now I would do something different, show you in a second. Then there was DB configurator, which was not finalized. Probably there was no more time, which was environment dependent. And the environment is production and tests. So, and we had Good Morning Krakow, which was an AJB with post construct. So right now was Microprofile would use request scoped and transactional. So this has to be ported. So this is the first change to now. And we have a job listener. And we also have here a thread starter, which for unknown reasons, I don't know why this thread starter, but what it does is it fires an event and throws exception just for fun. So why I did it, no idea. But what I could do right now, try the following. Let's see whether it's still working. So what I could do is I could reinstall Whitefly and try to run this on the recent Whitefly. So now the Whitefly is gone. and installed again and start Whitefly, we'll start the Whitefly, hopefully. And then let's try to deploy that and see whether, whether if you did what I told you 7 years ago, whether it would still run. So now we have the project, and now I would run to what? What is what? A small tool which watches and deploys an application. So I would run to like the what. So what it does is it built and deployed to all servers on my machine. And now switch back, and you can see it deployed the universe. So let's try localhost 8080 and universe and EJB hello from database, whatever it means. It was the configured part. And you see here the stack trace because of the exception. So I should see just for fun. So what meant is, the old code still works. And what I told you, I hope I had no time to release my talk, but what I probably said is, if you focus on business and forget about, the funky frameworks, it will still run, after 5 years. And now it's 7 years are gone, mission accomplished. So it still works. And what I have to tell you, most of my project still looks like this. So now the question, what changed, right? Because this would be boring, to recode whatever I did 7 years ago again. So what changes? The following. So it's the observation that there are no more shared deployments. So even, I suppose 6-7 years ago, what we did is we had, one application server. And now, it is always the case because of microservices and even monolith are running this way. So you have one runtime per application. So what it means is usually you don't need the deployment process. So this is the first observation. And modern runtimes, which are based on the same APIs, and there are actually a couple of them, but the most popular ones is Helidon, for instance, and Quarkus is the other one. They are just using, the same old API I showed you right now, and behind the scenes to do something completely different. So what you saw was the asynchronous servlet, what I did 7 years ago. Right now you can use no reactive programming to achieve the same and consuming less threads. So I would like to let's a second. Where's let's see. I think I can kill everything here, and then start from scratch a modern app and see how far we can go today. So okay, then universe is gone. Come here to my and this universe 20 is like Jakarta E8 with Microprofile, and this was the 7-year-old example. What I promised today, Smog or the dragon. So let's create a dragon. So create, and I would like to use Quarkus because it has almost the same API what I showed you 7 years ago, but it's one of the smallest runtimes currently available. In fact, I did some measurements for my clients, and Quarkus, Dragon Quarkus is going to be smaller than Jetty or Tomcat, empty Jetty or Tomcat. So, or at least, just unzipped Jetty or Tomcat. This, they are not empty. There's some admin stuff inside, but you know what I mean, without any custom deployed applications. So, set a project group ID. So PL JDD. I think this is the right one. And the artifact ID is, of course, Smoke. And project version is okay. And this is also okay. Set the resource class name is okay. This is a little bit superfluous with the set the resource path. I'm happy with it. And then switch to Smog and the same Visual Studio Code. So the question why I'm using Visual Studio Code, the same answer as 7 years ago. 7 years ago, I used more NetBeans. I still like and use NetBeans, but I do a lot of web development, and just Visual Studio Code just shines for web. And I can now use the same IDE for the front end and for the back end at the same time. So which is really nice. So, okay. What we have right now, the POM, it is a little bit longer, and the reason is because there is some magic going on, like native compilation, stuff like that. And this is, there is no more, ThinWars deployment. This is the runtime and the application are packaged together and started. So now, what I would like to do is to explain you the following. So what about the API? So why it worked, what I did back then right now, and what is all about. So what is, from my perspective, what will happen in the next 7 years? This is interesting to know. So you already learned about the Dragon. So if you're in Krakow, you have to check it out and wait for 5 minutes, as I learned, and then it spit fire. So it's really nice. And so Microprofile. So what is microprofile? So the microprofile, you can just a little bit larger, is a set of specifications which is implemented by a lots of runtimes. So Whitefly, 7 years ago, I used Glassfish. The successor of Glassfish is Payara, still are available. It also understands microprofile. There's a OpenLiberty, Whitefly, I think I mentioned already, and there's a Quarkus and Helidon and Piranha and Tommy. There are lots of runtimes sharing the microprofile, which is somehow important to my clients because no one would like to be dependent of something which is only supported by one runtime. What's interesting part is here why this lower layer is the old boring Jakarta EE or Java EE. So CDI2, JSON-P, JAX-RS, and JSON-B. So actually the old, universe example from JDD 2012 will still work right now because they are backward compatible. If you consider the upper layers, they are more interesting, and this is what actually makes microprofile so interesting. So there's like the health checks, and the health checks are coming from Kubernetes. So and the JSON Web Token is a standard JSON Web Token. And we're just using JSON Web Token for authentication and authorization, but the same API can be used by all the runtimes. So metrics are Prometheus metrics available out of the box, and fault tolerance are built-in patterns like circuit breaker or bulkheads or timeout, retry, fallback. So this is fault tolerance. Config is cloud native config, which means the key values are injected from environment entries or from properties. Can be overridden with whatever config source you have. The REST client is the possibility to inject an interface which is implemented on the fly. And OpenAPI is basically Swagger without being depending on Swagger. And open tracing is distributed tracing with Jaeger. So now, this is you learned very quickly what microprofile is. So now we can kill the dragon. We learned about microprofile. And by the way, what I really appreciate the microprofile is the same what I appreciate, 7 years ago. If I would like to learn about anything here, I can just go to here and read the spec, the entire spec, or let's say I'm interested in the health. So I go in the health and I can read the PDF or HTML and, for instance, read about readiness. Yeah, readiness checks is the first one which comes. So, and this is how it is supposed to work, and then I get the guidelines or tutorials from all the runtimes. So now the next one is small array. So what's small array? I will show you in a second why this is so why I mentioned small array at all. It is like the a common implementation of all microprofile APIs, and there are several projects here. And if you look at the projects, there is a CDI, JAX, so forth, config, fault tolerance, health, JSON Web Token, metrics. So this is like the unified or common or a possible implementation of microprofile, which is actually used in Quarkus. This is why I'm mentioning this today. And I told you that the config comes from Kubernetes, and this is actually specified defined environment for a container, and this is specified in the Kubernetes environment and the or documentation. And the key value pairs, environmental key value pairs are actually coming from Docker. This is what I did for years on Docker, where I configured my applications with key value pairs or env entries in a file format, or just adding them from command line. And Kubernetes streamlines the entire experience because the configuration is stored in etcd and automatically distributed for you. Now, so what it basically means is that the microprofile is driven by Cloud Native Foundation. So and the Cloud Native Foundation is like the new package of standards. And so what means, and these standards can change very fast, even outside of Java, because most of the APIs here are not even implemented in Java. Like Kubernetes is mostly written in Go and a little bit of Rust. For instance, etcd is Go, and Prometheus I think is also Go. So and this is the reason why we get 4 releases of microprofile a year, and the Jakarta EE releases are a little bit more or less, because this is this more stable Java EE API or Java-driven API. So this is the Cloud Native Foundation. Another standard is Open Metrics, and this is the Java independent standard, and microprofile implements that with microprofile metrics. We have the JSON Web Tokens for authentication and authorization, are directly supported by microprofile. And this is the Prometheus implementation. So you probably know Prometheus This is like, a tool which polls your microservices, fetches the stuff, and we can access this with Grafana and create nice dashboards. And open tracing, this is the spec, the project. What open tracing is actually really nice. In Microprofile, if you build a Microprofile service, there is nothing to do. You can create 2 microservices, and they will both report to a central location. And the central location is the Jaeger, which we use in most projects. So for a developer, means you only have to use, traced annotation and start Jaeger, and you are basically done. And you only have to configure where the Jaeger is and what the polling interval is. Now there's a Liveness and Readiness probes, and they are already built into Microprofile. OpenAPI, which is basically Swagger, is one implementation, and Swagger and Prometheus is actually the same. Is the same story. Prometheus was first, and then the standardization happens. The same happened with Swagger was first, and then OpenAPI happened, and both are supported Microprofile out of the box. What means is also all servers support this out of the box. Not only the fresh Microprofile servers, also the older Pyaras, even WebLogic. OpenLiberty is the small WebSphere. Then we have Whitefly, JBoss, and so forth. And circuit breaker pattern is described by Martin Fowler, but it actually the first time was described in a book called Release It, an older book, but all the patterns are built in. Yeah, exactly. So this is the EJB Hello from database. A 7-year-old application was ported, in the intro of a talk to JDK 11 and Whitefly 2020.1. Okay. So this was, the theory, and now we should have enough time to hack something. So I don't need this anymore, and we only have to open the smoke, not smoke, rather than smog or dragon. So first, what I would like to do is to tell Whitefly to use Microprofile. How to do that, the easiest, is to use add extensions to current project. And what I would like to use is right now is whatever comes with small, this is the small RAI, is Microprofile. And we have time, I can do small RAI JSON web token, but for this I will need to set up the public and stuff like that. But we can for sure go with health and small, just search for small. Metrics is nice, and what I also do, OpenAPI, I saw it already, and open tracing, no time to install the server, but there's on my YouTube channel if you're interested, and fault small. What else? Fault tolerance is nice, fault tolerance, and Microprofile REST client is the only one which doesn't come with Morai, which is a pity. So I will have to use the Microprofile REST client, and this is called REST client, just REST client, which is not that consistent, but what we can do, right? And then REST easy JSONB. I would like to have JSONB from Java E, and then I have to say REST easy JSONB. So that's all. So if I say extension selected, what happens is lots of show and actually nothing behind. It just added the dependencies here. So this is what I usually do outside the conference. I prepare the POM and just copy it over. So I don't have to do this because most of the dependencies are there anyway. So what is the difference? 7 years ago, we had everything inside the API, and now you have just to re-add whatever you need here. And this I do with Quarkus. On OpenLiberty, I just add the entire Microprofile. I don't do this. So there's one story behind this. What I'm showing you today with the Quarkus is the main difference is why I have to add an extension and not the dependencies, because an extension means in Quarkus it optimizes at build time. And what it usually means, for instance, on Hibernate, it would read persistence XML and generate bytecode. So at runtime with Quarkus, there is no more reflection, no dynamic behavior, one class loader. And this is why Quarkus is so small and fast. Okay, so now what I could do is Maven clean. Okay, clean is actually not necessary, but clean compile Quarkus dev. And we should see that yeah, it started already, but what I forgot to do is to delete the tests. Source test Java, they are not needed anymore. Everything is error-free in 2020. So now, let's see. And now all the extensions are up and running. Quarkus is started. And what I could do right now is to do the localhost 8080. Just see whether it is running. Yes, and there was a hello. And the hello is there. Okay, so how the application would look like in 2020. So what I would like to do is I would like to first add a source main Java PL. Oh, perfect. Exactly. On that level, I would like to start with, for instance, a folder. And this is Smog. Let's call it Dragon because the application name is already Smog. Let's say there's the project name and Dragon is like, the component name. And the Dragon comes with boundary control entity. This is like the internal structure I still prefer. And we have inside the main Java Dragon boundary control entity. And what I would like to do is I would like to add the Smog resource. And the Smog resource will use now the Java EE annotation called path. And the path is going to be the Smog. So, then let's do the, okay. So what I would like to do is to have a Dragon here. And the Dragon Java is the entity. And the Dragon has a name and has capabilities, and probably an age. Int should be enough, age. Okay. Now, and I would like to have a constructor with everything. So I have now a Dragon with name, capabilities, and age. Should be enough. And then I can just create here a file. Let's call it, make it a little bit more complex. Call it Dragon Engine. Doesn't really matter. And on Quarkus, because there's no reflection and there's less and no time to search, I have to annotate all the classes with whatever. And I choose dependent right now because it means, just take the what it means, take the life cycle of the object in which I am injected. So this is actually the semantic of that. And say, okay, public Dragon create. And the Dragon returns new Dragon. And I learned, this is the name. Yes. Capabilities, what I saw already, it can spit fire. And what else? Probably eat children, I guess. And the age I forgot because I think it was mentioned first 1,000, let's say 500 years, let's say. Okay, this is a rough estimate. This is agile programming. You can still fix it. I will check it to my GitHub account afterwards so you can just play with it. So I have it. We have Dragon create. And what I would like to do is to see how many dragons are created. And this is just enough to say I would like to have a counted annotation. So it's a very basic one to see whether it is working. And then I can go to Smog resource and say I would like to inject the Dragon engine. It's the engine. And I would like to have a Dragon just get. This is not right because I would get an array of dragons, but I mean, this is not really restful, but we have no time for rest right now. Import the Dragon, and I can say return this engine create. So I have that. And then what I would also like to do is to tell the runtime produces, and I would like to use this produces, and I would like to produce media type, media type application JSON. This is what I would like to produce. Just this is supported, nothing else. And okay, let's see. So what it means is if I go here with the smoke, I get the smoke as JSON, which looks nice. So raw data is JSON's the Wawelski smoke as JSON. Okay, so this was all. What I also get now for free already is I can say, give me please the Swagger UI. And I get, you know, the hello was shipped with hello, but this is my smoke. And I can say try out, execute the parameters. And you can see here capabilities, Spitfire, eat children capabilities. But I can help a little bit the developer and say, okay, look, the capabilities are, you know, the schema. And for instance, I can provide an example. Because the example is something dangerous, like, for instance, explosion. So if I have that, so I can reload this, and if I look at the smoke, something dangerous like explosion. You can see it actually enhances on the fly the API, which is really nice, because what I see in projects still is like, 7 years ago, probably I mentioned, don't document getters and setters, and now we have the same problems, I would say, in the REST API, where they say, no, this is a GET request, it returns something, and this is not idempotent, and the delete request deletes the smoke, and the GET request gets the smoke, and put request, updates the smoke, and post request creates the smoke. So what I would do is provide, additional information which is not obvious. So we have the smoke, and we can say even, for instance, the name of the smoke. I would even argue it's a set, Wawelski. You cannot just rename that. So I could say this is schema, and not that. This is just should be. I'll do it later. So let's say this is enough for us. So the smoke is returned. You already saw this. But what we also have here, we also have hopefully localhost 8080/matrix, and this is for all runtimes, regardless what we are using, matrix. And this is the the base boring matrix, where you get everything which usual JVM provides. But the really nice thing is we can also have application matrix, which is our counter, and the counter was reset because I redeployed the application. So if I click get again, try it out, and execute, and then switch back to the counter, hopefully we will see, okay, now is 1. So seems to work. Okay, so we have now the smoke, and on what we already used is the following. We already used the matrix with the counted. We used the open API with schema, and injection from CDI from Java EE. So this at inject would work 7 years ago. There's no difference. Okay, now next thing, what we can do is we can apply a little bit configuration. Forgot the configuration. So what I could do is in the Dragon engine, I could say I would like to configure the Wawelski, because I'm not sure whether it is, in English it will probably the Wawel smoke and not Wawelski, I guess. So let's make it configurable. How to do it? I would say add inject, and now microprofile config kicks in, config property, and what I can say is this is the smoke name, and the default value is Wawelski. This is the string name. This is really important, and this is this name. Okay, so now we have the smoke Wawelski, and actually it should work as before. So I would just get the smoke again, and as you can see, Wawelski. But now I can switch to the properties and say the name is now the smoke name. Sorry, smog name, and it already recognized that smog name Wavel. So so this is why I tried to be smarter than the code completion. Is smog name Wavel, not Wawelski. This is what it Wavel. Okay, now if I do it again, I get the name Wavel. So this is now the config microprofile config, and we use it for cloud native deployments. What it means is we can provide defaults in the property files, and they are overridden with deployment configuration on Kubernetes, for instance. Okay, so we have that. Now, now what I would like to do is make it a little bit more robust. So what can happen is that the smog, for instance, is going to be created here, and this is not always possible, or we need some external resource we would like to talk with, and I'm just thinking whether it's not too risky, but let's see what the time is. Okay, we're just 10 minutes, so let's do something which will probably work. So what I could do is say, okay, what happens if we get here an error? Throw new runtime exception, and what I did runtime exception. Runtime error exception is nice. Runtime exception, and what I did, this will probably, okay. What I did 7 years ago, I created exception with just for fun. Do it the same. And now what will happen is, first, I would like to create a marker that we were actually here, and the exception happens. And I can show you what we can actually do. I can say I would like to retry it a few times and say this is max retries. Let's do just 2. I think default are 3. And then what I can say is fallback in case, you know, something goes wrong. Just do the fallback method, and the fallback is, you know, unstable unstable dragon creation. So that's fine. So, and this public dragon unstable dragon creation. And what I will do here is to return new dragon, Spitfire children, and just say this is the fallback. Or fake dragon. This is the fake dragon. Okay, now we have the unstable dragon creation, hopefully. And so, and now if I will do this, and we take a time, and we can see, I see here, oh, go away. Fake dragon, so it worked, so this is not that impressive. What I really like is if I just would reload my metrics. You see something interesting. So what we got now, the fault tolerance API contributed the metrics. So we see that fallback calls total were 1. So the fallback was called once. We have invocation was invoked once. It was retried twice. So what it means is, what I could do if I have Prometheus, I could just say, Prometheus, look at that, and raise alerts in case, you know, the dragon creation fails too often. Or what we do sometimes, if there is no Prometheus, if you have a web app, what you can do, I can say, give me please, you know, accept application JSON. And that, and I can the same as JSON, which is nicer because this I can immediately consume in a web component, for instance. Okay, so now we have, you know, we use some interesting APIs from Microprofile. What I can also do here, I can say, what if I would like, you know, to save the dragon? Save the dragons. Dragon. And go with sys trace and the dragon. Okay, and this should be post because no, actually nicer would be put, because we know already the name of the dragon. This will be idempotent, and now we if we will retry no post, we will got multiple dragons in Krakow, which is terrible. But okay. Now, what I would also like to do is to say this is consumes. consumes, and this is basically it. And why I'm doing this is the following, because if I would like here, if I reload that, you should see the post here. So you see here. So open the Dragon, and there is the post. And what you see here is the age, capabilities, and the name. And what I would like to do is to say, okay, the name is immutable. We don't need, the name for Dragon creation. So what you can do here, I can say, hey, Dragon, here, please, schema, and read only, true. It means this name should not be set. So if I just reload this, you will see that the name disappears, which is really nice. So this is the OpenAPI configures with, and there is actually the OpenAPI endpoint as well. So if I go to localhost 8080/OpenAPI, then I get the the YAML format, and the Swagger UI just generates itself from the YAML format. So now we have that. So what about production? Because I'm running here in the funky mode. So what will happen if this, how to pass it to production? So, and I would just to kill the development mode here and just create clean install, and you will see something that, this is the interesting part actually. The interesting part is the concept didn't change. So what we still got here, we got here the smoke runner. So I can just go here and say java -jar, smoke, where is it? Java -jar target smoke runner. And now it just starts. And the cool story is this is not a fed jar. So this is important for cloud native because we have layering. So what happens is all the dependencies are in the lib folder and they are frozen. They are just depending on the Quarkus in this case, in the Quarkus release or Helidon release or OpenLiberty or whatever. And my business code resides in Smoke runner. So what's also interesting is 7 years ago, I hacked something on stage with my old laptop. The IDE was heavier, the Glassfish was heavier, and it still worked. And now my clients ask me, we have to reduce memory because of clouds. So it's interesting. The memory became, cheaper and cheaper, and my clients become, more sensitive regarding memory. So, and they say, okay, Jakarta is too bloated, whatever. So the cool story is now, what I can do, I can say, I would like to launch that with, let's say, I don't know whether it works, 12 megs. So, and now I was able to run this the Quarkus with 12 megs of heap, and with all the extensions I created. And of course, there's not a lot of code going on, but all the extensions are actually considerable. What's already is working. We have the Swagger UI, we have the fault tolerance, we have the metrics and stuff like that. So now, what? Just another attempt. J11 and JVisual VM. I would. Very good. Because this is Graal, and Graal ships with JVisual VM, hopefully, yes. So, and now I can just show you the Quarkus, and we have the monitor, and you can see that the entire application consumes 12 megs. So if I just 7 megs of heap, so what I created today. And back then, 7 years ago, it would be 60 megs. So we have more functionality, and we reduce, the memory consumption by a considerable amount of RAM. So what it means is you can run, more Quarkus in the cloud for cheap. Jakub, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I don't. This is surprisingly quiet here. So now, what you can also do, this will take a little bit. So I can say Maven clean install. This is what everyone thinks. This is the P native. What now happens? What I showed you right now, it run on stock JDK, not even J9. J9 will be the fastest Eclipse J9. It was stock. Wait a second. We can just see what it was. Java minus version. This was JDK 11. And now let's. What I can do is now I would like to create Maven clean install a native image, and this can take longer, but I think we still have 3 minutes. So if we're a little bit lucky, it should still work. So what is the message? I think it didn't change a lot since all the JDDs. If you focus on business, your code will still run in several years. And what I showed you 7 years ago, 80% of my project looks exactly like this. No superfluous mappings, no strange stuff, just business code. And then we are able to migrate an old Java EE application written, as I showed you 7 years ago, on Quarkus on Helidon in a half a day, porting, because they are still using the same technology. If you take a look, I just cleaned the folders. There is nothing to. The libs are gone. So the Quarkus uses Whitefly behind the scenes. Most of the proven Whitefly libraries like Hibernate, Vertex, Hibernate Validator, REST Easy you already saw, right? And now the newer libraries were Small Rye. Okay, now it takes a little bit. What happens now is because Quarkus knows about all the dependencies, it passes the dependencies to GraalVM, which is an open source project. And this GraalVM, it even worked. It creates a native image. So watch this. If I just will just run. Now what happened now is I have the red thing here. It's everything. This is like a Go library. This is the Java virtual machine, Quarkus, and my application. And I would like to run it again. And it doesn't run because the other Quarkus is still running. It broke because it doesn't like my fallback, which is a pity. No time to fix that, but seems like GraalVM bug. But having said that, most of my projects are still running on stock JVM. But just let's, if we just remove that, do it again. To show you the difference. The difference is going to be if it works, and it usually works, or it always works except at conferences. Just do it again. You can save around, I would say 80% of memory, and if you run Quarkus comparing to traditional runtimes, you will save a half of memory if you're running it on comparable JVM. So the last time we will launch it, and then we are done for today. And I would say in 7 years we should meet again and revise this code and say, okay, what was wrong with this code? What I can simplify, and how small the JVM runtime became. So if we have the same trajectory, maybe we can launch the entire JVM on 8K or ZX Spectrum again, or Commodore 64. This is what can happen. They are back. Or we even in computerless. So serverless is already on the horizon. In 7 years, we can get in the computerless environment, or memoryless, RAMless, right? This was, I think, so. This usually happens on Jenkins. You don't have to do it all the time. So let's see. Now runner, smoke runner, and now it started. And as you can see, it started in 0.027 seconds. So do it again. And now if you take a look at the memory consumption, PS, so it is like 25K, 25 megabyte, everything. So this is the JVM plus the entire runtime. So this is a fraction of the entire thing. So on that note, back to the Dragon, or I was supposed to back to studio. So back to the Dragons.
Thank you, Adam, for your presentation. I was happy to hear a little bit about the dragon. It was not exactly the Wawelski dragon, but it was really nice to see you again at the JDD conference. I am looking at hopping, but at the moment there are no questions. So I will ask you a question. I know that you are organizing live workshops. So could you tell us a little bit more about the workshops? When are the next workshops so people can join and broaden their knowledge together with you?
So the next workshops are in December. There are virtual workshops. You can subscribe via Meetup or airhacks.live. So if you go to airhacks.live, you will find the dates. So wait a second. And there's, you can, this is exactly the same. It looks like this, what I do today with you. I'm hacking code and explaining my ideas. And the first workshop is exactly what I did today, just, in the backends. And the next one is front ends. So entire day, how to build sustainable front ends without any frameworks. This is the next trend I see, that my clients don't like, to be dependent on a JavaScript framework, and the web standards evolved that much that you don't need the frameworks anymore. And by the way, I will talk at this JDD conference about that as well. So I will create, the user interface for our Dragon with nothing but web components without any dependencies. And hopefully the developers will challenge me and find something which is not productive or, too complex or whatever. Thank you a lot. Bye.